This anime opens by showing a live vlogging and accidentally met Hoban, which we usually call YouTube, who wanted to buy it because he thought the price was only around 30 or 40,000 yen, who has 700,000 subscribers. Because it has reached 700,000 subscribers, Paco wants to celebrate this achievement on its own YouTube channel. Then Paco invited a cute girl named Yorumi to collaborate, a beginner YouTuber who has a subscription under Paco. Yorumi then explained the contents of the beauty content on her YouTube channel and that she had prepared a special model for Paco. After that, they introduced a special model that had been prepared named Hoban. In Hoban's heart, he was grumbling why Paco didn't share the profits even though he was always the model for Paco's content itself. Next, Paco asked Kaneko, his cameraman, to start recording the live stream. Seeing Hoban's always sullen face, Paco forced him to smile in front of the camera.
モデルも用意したんですよね。はい、
私が一生懸命です。
どいつも利用するんだったら俺にも収益を。
志村、笑顔でな。押してくれた方の中から。
全部やらせなくせに。
After finishing the live streaming, Hoban went to the bathroom to remove his makeup, but it turned out that he had a very difficult time removing his makeup. While removing the makeup on his face, Hoban questioned himself why he never stood up to the bullying that happened to him. He was very annoyed, because Paco was usually called a school thug, but it was very easy for him to make a profit on the internet. Even Yorumi only has 5,000 subscribers, but because she has a beautiful face and a nice body, Yorumi is just waiting to be famous. Different from his two friends, Hoban doesn't have anything special. After that, Hoban intended to return to class. But suddenly, Kaneko quickly started bullying Hoban, who was also Paco's cameraman. Hoban, who has experienced a lot of bullying from several school thugs like Paco, feels that Kaneko is nothing compared to all of them. Always hiding behind other people, his cowardly nature is hidden by his circle, so that Kaneko can feel safe even though he gets goosebumps when he sees the expression on Hoban's face. Long story short, Hoban was surprised when he heard that Yorumi could make 30,000 yen, just with the short livestream he did earlier. Paco, who asked for reciprocity, was seen only promised by Yorumi to wait for a gift from him. Coincidentally, Hoban and Kaneko had the same thoughts. Unlike Hoban, who couldn't do anything or get information on how to become a YouTuber, Kaneko could casually ask Paco directly. Fortunately, Paco did not prevent the cameraman's actions and informed him that minors could not earn income. Therefore, he needs his parents so that his income can be dispersed. Hearing this, Kaneko, who had already stolen his parents' money, was sure he would not be allowed to use it. Therefore, Kaneko asked Hoban to give his mother's account in a disrespectful way. What's worse, Hoban's mother is sick and lying in the hospital. Even though he was very annoyed by the words of the two bullies, Hoban couldn't do anything and could only hold back his emotions, because he knew he would suffer the ending if he was determined to fight back. The scene then shifts to the hospital. After visiting the mother who was trying to be strong in front of her child, the mother was worried about her son who had bruises on his face. But Hoban immediately calmed him down and told him that he wouldn't fight at all. This is the life of Hoban, who has to work part-time at Metsudi for 1 week, in order to earn 30,000 yen like Paco and Yorumi do. Apart from caring for his mother, he still has many needs that he has to take care of as an only child. Then came a cute girl named Asamiya Kaho. Hoban, who saw Asamiya's face, immediately liked her.
志村くん。
まだいるじゃないか。朝宮カホ。冷蔵庫の中にあるから。
わかった。ありがとう。
俺が持ってくれよ。
朝宮と喋っちゃった。血の店のアイドル。
いらっしゃいませ。
見ているだけで幸せ。
Just chatting with Asamiya, suddenly Paco came and gave Asamiya a challenge. Where Paco explained that his audience asked him to give a challenge to Asamiya, where he gave a challenge to make the burger on the poster, and he had to make it in just 30 seconds. If Asamiya failed to do so, then he had to give Paco his telephone number. In the midst of the confusion, Asamiya couldn't do anything and the employees there couldn't do anything either. But suddenly, Hoban quickly completed his challenge and threw Paco out of the place. Amid other employees who admired his heroic actions, Hoban could guess that tomorrow he would be battered by Paco. That night, Hoban was seen cursing himself for letting Kaneko live stream at his house. In the middle of Kaneko carrying out his live streaming, he received a challenge from his viewers where if he killed 30 other players he would get 30,000 yen. Because he was secretly annoyed, Hoban spat at Kaneko's ramen. He was even very annoyed because Kaneko used his computer to live stream and Hoban's YouTube account was also used by Kaneko. When Hoban wanted to deliver the ramen he had spat on, he suddenly slipped and the ramen he was holding was thrown at Kaneko. Because of Hoban's actions, Kaneko's live stream was destroyed, even though he only had 1 kill left to get 30,000 yen. Kaneko, who was annoyed, then tortured Hoban while uttering very cruel words. He even degraded Hoban's mother. Hearing that, Yuhoben couldn't hold back his emotions, and the two of them fought with each other.
引っかかってんだよ。映画代わり払えや。そんなんだからんだよ。初めて突き上げた拳。
After Kaneko left Yuhoben's house, he decided to rest and turn off his computer so he could save money on the bill. The next day, without them realizing it, Yuhoben just accidentally unplugged the monitor cable, while the live stream and other cable connections were still plugged in. Kaneko also asked Yuhoben to delete the live stream, because it turned out that yesterday's live stream had spread throughout the world. Then Yuhoben explained to him that he never uploaded it on YouTube. Then Kaneko told him that the live stream would be uploaded automatically when the computer went offline. Even though he wanted to delete his live stream, because his YouTube account was using his mother's Yuhobi account, he couldn't log in to delete it. After hearing this, Yuhoben then checked one of the comments on his account, which informed him that the video could be cashed out at a nominal value of 0.1 yen per one view, and the total audience for the Yuhoben versus Kaneko video just now was 10 million viewers. On the same day, we are shown the difference felt by Yuhoben and Kaneko. Because the video has gone viral, he is now the subject of bullying in class. Even when he wanted to pick a fight with his classmate, he actually got hit by his classmate. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Yuhoben was seen who was shocked that he had to pay 120,000 yen for his mother's treatment. Yuhoben's worry about his viral video immediately disappeared, because the amount he could get could be said to be worth it for the virality. However, not long after, Kaneko came and started fighting with Yuhoben, because he felt that his throne as a strategist and YouTube cameraman like Paco had now been completely destroyed, and he didn't even get anything from the video. In the afternoon, Yuhoben comforts Kaneko after fighting with him. However, when Yuhoben still didn't want to give Kaneko a little of his money, suddenly Kaneko secretly recorded the fight this afternoon. In order to restore his destroyed throne, Kaneko intends to work with Yuhoben, which might be a long-term investment for him. However, after Kaneko explained how difficult it is to have a YouTube account, both in terms of the account and the content and other creation processes. With great confidence, he thought Yuhoben would fall into his slavery trap, especially when he saw Yuhoben, who he thought wanted to shake hands with him. He then explained the results of the distribution, which for Kaneko was 90% and for Yuhoben only 10%. But luckily Yuhoben wasn't stupid, and Kaneko didn't expect to be rejected by him. When Yuhoben wanted to leave, Kaneko, who didn't want to lose one of the opportunities to get back on his feet, made an offer to share their earnings with him. From initially 10% for Yuhoben and 90% for Kaneko, it is now 90% for Yuhoben and 10% for Yuhoben and 10% for Kaneko. The next day, Paco started his live stream and informed the audience that two of his classmates were going viral. When Kaneko urged Hoben to quickly launch their action, Hoben seemed to be looking for an opportunity, and when he heard Paco announce a computer giveaway for one lucky person. In the middle of Hoben continuing to bombard Paco's live with the facts of his bullying, people were seen starting to crowd around, and a curious girl tried to see them. But unfortunately, even though initially everything was still as planned, Paco suddenly laughed and was grateful because the cell phone he used for the live had died because it ran out of battery. In the midst of the bullying carried out by Paco, Kaneko has intelligently anticipated this and continues to increase the viewers and subscribers that both of them have. All the viewers who watched the live really couldn't believe that a YouTuber with 700,000 subscribers was a trash collector like that. Seeing Hoben's burning eyes, Kaneko was shocked and couldn't believe it, because Hoben dared to take a stance against Paco. Even though their bodies are very different in size, Hoben remains determined to rise from adversity. Hoben thought that someone would help separate the two of them, but it turned out that everyone was afraid or didn't want to interfere in their business. This is different from Paco, who has a very large body, very scary eyes, muscles and tattoos, while Hoben only has strong willpower and is physically weak. In the middle of Hoben, thinking about using a technique he saw in a Western film, his emotions suddenly peaked when Paco insinuated that Hoben's mother had cancer and could only lie in the hospital. Hoben didn't accept it when Paco looked down on his mother and made him attack Paco without thinking. After Hoben was slammed by Paco, he was shocked that a weight difference would have such an effect. He felt that his previous fight with Kaneko was just a joke between two comedians. While Hoben thought everything was finished, unfortunately here Paco wasn't satisfied with just slamming Hoben once. Immediately, Hoban and Kaneko's live channel viewers immediately exploded when they saw a young MMA athlete named Kim Moong-sung, felt afraid of the MMA superstar Paco, and then immediately left. After everything calmed down, Kaneko praised Hoban because even though he lost, he still had several fans who admired him. In the evening, Paco felt grateful because the cell phone he was using had run out of battery. However, he was very surprised when he opened his cell phone. There were lots of notifications, and when he read them, Paco started to feel worried. Meanwhile, Hoban is taking a shower and feels like he has become a cool figure. The point is that, since the live bullying, in just a short time, Paco's content, which turned out to be a bully, has now gone viral. Here we are also shown the possibilities that occur in our real world. When someone makes a mistake, they will make a clarification. Now all Paco content has been labeled as a lie, and what's worse is that there is one netizen who even created a countdown site for the current number of Paco subscribers. From the initial 700,000 subscribers, there are now only 400,000 subscribers. Long story short, after Kaneko gave him praise, he also asked him to learn to fight. Because if the video exceeds 3 minutes, they will get more money. Hearing this suggestion, Hoban immediately searched the internet for ways to fight. But unfortunately, when he searched on Gulagolo and YouTube, everything was very difficult for him to imitate. Until one moment, where Hoban made a mistake in typing what should have been an autodactic fight, instead it became an orthodactic fight. Without Hoban realizing it, he found a channel called Dokugokaka Kenka, which had 0 subscribers. Hoban thought the channel was just abandoned by the owner, but it turned out that the channel had uploaded lots of videos. After Hoban decided to watch one of the videos, a masked macho man appeared there. For a short time, Hoban was seen listening to the tutorial from the man in the mask carefully. The man in the mask told him that you should not even get carried away by emotions, because if you get carried away by emotions, it is not venting your fists, but just venting your emotions. In other words, you have to be calm so you can dodge and think about your next move. And if your opponent is carried away by emotions, then you will gain an advantage from the fight. Then the masked man told him about techniques on how to avoid getting hurt when hit. Hoban immediately decided to stop watching that channel. He felt that the channel was only uploading hoax videos, so he could lure viewers and also earn some money. After that, Hoban was seen going to MCD deciding to quit his job so he could focus more on managing his channel. At the same time, Asamiya heard several female employees about Hoban wanting to quit and decided to approach Hoban, who was still being scolded by the MCD manager.
だからありがとう。LINE 交換しない？
朝見やっちゃ。
LINE するね。交換しない？
The scene then moves to school. Hoban is seen very happy because he has the Asamiya line. But not long after, Kaneko stopped his fun and asked Hoban's opinion, who has now reached 100,000 subscribers. Then Kaneko was very annoyed because Hoban, who had not thought of a way to survive for 3 minutes while fighting. Even though Hoban talked about YouTubers not always being above, he immediately changed his mind as soon as Rumi came over to him. Kaneko and Hoban initially suspected Rumi of previously siding with Paco, but they were immediately convinced by him that his viewers asked him to go live with Hoban. While they were chatting, Paco suddenly came and asked Hoban to take responsibility for destroying his channel. This is where Hoban felt strange because the channel's words from the masked man could be implemented by him now. Because of the masked man's words, Hoban is now able to avoid Paco's blows and intends to move on to the next step to use the technique that doesn't hurt when hit. But unfortunately, very quickly Kaneko didn't want to waste the opportunity to further bring down Paco and introduce their channel together. By threatening to use the video he had just recorded, Paco vowed to take revenge on the 3 people. The next day, Hoban was seen waiting for Kaneko in the city center to talk about their next content. However, when Hoban was just about to call Asamiya, suddenly 2 people who claimed to be Hoban's fans approached and made Hoban surprised by the power of YouTubers to make people famous. Hoban is still innocent and doesn't suspect the 2 of them, even though what they both ask is the amount of AdSense he got. In the middle of Hoban being beaten by the 2 thugs, Kaneko suddenly arrives with the intention of saving Hoban, but unfortunately Kaneko suddenly fell down with just 1 punch. Then the thug took Hoban's cell phone as collateral so he wouldn't call the police, even though the thug's aim was only to try to loot Hoban's things. Instead of prioritizing the main folder or email for his channel, Hoban prioritized Asamiya's number because he couldn't contact him anymore. Kaneko's newest model cell phone, which Kaneko wants to use as a sacrifice, wakes up Kaneko and tells him to go after the 2 people. Because apparently from the start, Kaneko had been doing live streams secretly, Hoban was also lured by the number of viewers and the amount of income that awaited them after the live stream ended. The scene then moves to a karaoke place where there are 2 lovers who steal Hoban's cell phone, and Kaneko, who has started his live streaming, is seen by the thugs calling him names because Hoban and Kaneko always make him content. Next, Hoban remembered the words of the masked man in the video that if you already know your opponent's dominant hand, then you all only need to stand on the opposite side of his dominant hand. This needs to be done to move on to the next step. And then this is a very good moment, as well as Hoban's first technique, after watching one of the videos of the masked man.
なんだよてめえ。左側に障害物があれば、
どうせ殴られるんだったら
ことができなくても反応する格闘技を習ったことのない。
来るぞ。振られても痛くない方法。
This technique explains how a blow from your opponent will hurt a lot if the swing hits your face. Therefore, the technique that Hoban just used moves in before the thug's blow reaches its maximum point. Even though it sounded great, all the viewers didn't feel great, and in the midst of Hoban not focusing because he was thinking about his next step, it almost resulted in him being hit by a punch from the thug. Ordinary people who have never practiced boxing martial arts tend to have open gaps between their arms, and this will of course give an advantage to their opponents because they can create weaving by moving from the direction of their fists. Natural weaving is a boxing technique that is usually used to avoid blow. Apart from the two of them, viewers don't understand what the two have been doing since earlier. Hoban, who is in love, is seen trying hard to get his cell phone back so he can reply to messages from Asamiya. He continued to receive repeated blows from the thug who used his forehead. Kaneko, who saw this, started to worry because their viewers were starting to get bored with the action and were starting to leave their live chat. The previous Hoban live against Paco could be said to be very exciting, but its duration was very short, while the Hoban live with thugs was too long and monotonous. Not long after, one of the viewers commented that he was sure that Hoban would definitely win the fight, but because what was seen now was Hoban who was continuously being beaten by Kaneko, he doubted one of the viewers' comments. Immediately the other viewers were very shocked, as was the thug who just realized that his hand was very bruised from repeatedly hitting the forehead area very hard. The thug then felt pain after hitting Hoban, and this also caused Kaneko to close Hoban's live stream fighting with the thug. After an argument between Hoban and the thugs, they came out of the karaoke place and Hoban looked very happy even though his face had lots of bruises.
マジで志村が勝ったのか。痛い。スマホ取り返したぞ。まあそれでもいいか。病院代の方が高くつきそうだな。流した汗の分だけ。
Meanwhile, their viral hit channel reached 25 million views with just 4 videos, and at that time Hoban and Kaneko also received AdSense of 2,035,000 yen. Even though it sounds like a lot, Hoban feels that the calculation of 0.1 yen per vise is too low for him. When Hoban, who wanted to increase the violence, was immediately opposed by Kaneko, he said that they both should be grateful because the previous live was not hit by a yellow dollar. Hoban, who doesn't understand the world of new tubes, is seen by Kaneko explaining that when a video is labeled yellow, their video will be demonetized or won't get a penny. Not long after, Rumi was seen vlogging and accidentally met Hoban, where now Rumi was targeting Hoban and Kaneko's viewers. Long story short, after the two of them succeeded in chasing Rumi, Hoban was seen impressed by a set of jerseys that were very nice for him. Hoban, who wanted to buy it because he thought the price was only around 30 or 40,000 yen, was immediately shocked after seeing the original price, which turned out to be 140,000 yen, and he immediately changed his mind. But unfortunately, Hoban was very surprised when Kaneko suddenly bought the jersey without thinking twice. Kaneko felt it was just something he had to have. Hoban realized that even though he had a lot of money, only rich people could know how to use money wisely. Even though Hoban initially refused to buy the jersey, when Asamiya asked him to do so, he changed his mind in an instant. In order to get rid of his nervousness, Hoban was seen starting his live streaming and was immediately greeted by the viewers who were waiting for him. Seeing this, many people around Hoban who didn't like him mocked Hoban for just looking for sensation for money. He was even accused of deliberately bringing down Paco, the YouTuber with 700,000 subscribers. Viewers who heard these words seemed to support Hoban by asking him not to listen to him. Not long after, a woman was seen who Hoban thought wanted to take a photo with him. But it turned out that the woman wanted to take a photo with the handsome vlogging YouTuber behind her. The vlog YouTuber named G1 has 170,000 subscribers. Then G1 immediately approached a very beautiful girl. However, the girl immediately refused because she had an appointment with someone, and it turned out that the beautiful girl was Asamiya, who was looking for Hoban. Long story short, Hoban is seen remembering very sad memories of his past. He who continues to be bullied by Paco can only use Kim Monsung as the perfect reference point in his life. But all of that just became a very dark past for him. In the midst of everyone who was stunned to see how beautiful Asamiya was, the girl in the yellow jacket was following Hoban from a distance. Then Hoban and Asamiya suddenly touch Hoban's finger, which makes him look forward to the future.
疲れた。営業チームの林くんが
今日も遅くまでご苦労様。
花屋の前を通っ
太田くんたらわざわざこんなもの。
咲いてるからさ。いい子にしてたかい。
に目を覚ませ、志村浩太。
Long story short, Hoban had just woken up from his bow. Now the two of them were in a cafe, and when Hoban reasoned that he was just silent and didn't speak, suddenly Asamiya became sulky when he heard that. Hoban's feelings then became even more mixed when he heard people around him, who said that a beautiful girl like Asamiya would be very rishy if she had a short partner like Hoban, and this made Hoban take off his jersey and made Asamiya a little sad to see. What's worse is that Hoban doesn't have much fun when he chats with Asamiya, and his bad heart makes Asamiya want to leave there immediately. He also apologized to Hoban for forcing him to date him. He also thought that Hoban was very cool when chatting online, but it was very different when he met him in person. Hoban, who didn't want to be a loser, then had the courage to convey what was in his heart, starting with Asamiya, who he thought would feel embarrassed when he was with a guy like him, then revealed that it was the first time he was alone with a girl. After their relationship improved again, they were seen leaving the cafe. Seeing this, the girl in the yellow jacket said that Hoban's courage was very brave for her. A short time while the two of them were walking, Asamiya was seen getting a call from his childhood friend who was also nearby. This made Hoban very surprised when he was told that his childhood friend Asamiya was actually Kim Moonsung, a figure Hoban considered perfect. Unfortunately, when Asamiya asked about Hoban's relationship with Monsung, Hoban answered that he lied about himself and said that Monsung was a close friend in his class. Then after Hoban said to Asamiya that he was very familiar with Monsung, Hoban suddenly became embarrassed when Monsung came in front of Hoban. However, in the midst of confusion, Monsung suddenly said that he was in Hoban's class. Hearing this, Hoban couldn't believe it because in class they never talked. Monsung didn't even know Hoban's name. Then Monsung asked if Hoban had noob, hearing that Hobi was honest with him, but he was wondering if Monsung was just pretending to be nice to him. However, after that Monsung saw Hoban's clothes were the same as himself, Hoban felt annoyed because the conversation made him happy in a short time, and after that the three of them went for a walk in identical clothes. However, Hoban felt that he would disturb Monsung and Asamiya's journey. As a result, Hoban pretended that his toenail hurt and left them with a limp leg. On the other hand, they saw Kaneko, who was live streaming from a distance, and Hoban unexpectedly bumped into him.
二人とも巻き爪が痛いから先に帰るわ。これ以上ここにいたらちょっとおいや指もっとマシな嘘つけねえのか。あのバカ。うわーうわー
Kaneko explained that he happened to be nearby and followed Hoban because he was worried. Kaneko was annoyed because Hoban ran away from Asamiya, even though he thought they were very close. Plus, Hoban even made excuses about his toenails, which made Kaneko even more angry. Hoban, who was confused about what to do, instead told Kaneko to be the one between the two of them, because he felt he wasn't a man because he was like Monsung, so Hoban only had his toenails as an excuse. Here Hoban says that he and Asamiya live in different worlds. He is also aware of all these things. Kaneko explains that if someone falls in love, it is the same as a tournament fight, where rivals will fight over one woman but Hoban gives up. Hoban reasoned that it was different from when he fought with other people. As a true friend, Kaneko gave Hoban words of motivation to get him excited again. After hearing Kaneko's words, Hoban finally melted and started to get up, to express his feelings to Asamiya. Even this time Hoban looked full of enthusiasm, while from behind Kaneko started his live streaming. Kaneko ran after Hoban but suddenly he stopped because he was blocked by someone unknown. The scene shifts to Asamiya asking about Hoban's foot condition. He then immediately answers that Hoban's foot condition has healed. Then Monsung says that a toenail like that will not heal if it is removed. Here Monsung offers help. Strangely hearing that, Hoban is actually scared by being offered help. Plus when Monsung wanted to leave there because he wanted to practice, Hoban was even more shocked and his facial expression was very strange. Asamiya said that next week the Monsung would be sparring, so he was very busy, realizing that the two of them were not dating but he was already overthinking. Then Monsung called Hoban. Strangely, he said that Hoban was a strong fighter, which Monsung had seen the live stream. He knew that when Hoban fought thugs he took the blows first to reduce the pain. Monsung also knew that Hoban deliberately didn't make a move. Furthermore, hearing the words next move, Hoban wondered if Monsung knew something. After that they were on a date. Asamiya asked what Hoban wanted to talk about. Here Hoban is very embarrassed. He thinks while rubbing his thighs, which produces extraordinary friction. Then Hoban immediately asked about Asamiya's type of man. Asamiya, who was also starting to feel embarrassed, said that his type was an honest man. But suddenly Hoban grabbed Kaneko's hair behind the bench. Hoban realized that Kaneko was recording them in silence, but Kaneko's face was already disfigured, making Hoban shocked.
Asamiyaの理想のタイプって。
摩擦。正直な人。
正直な人。俺の理想のタイプは。俺の。Asamiya。その前にやっぱり撮ってると思ったよ。カネゴ
It turns out that it was Paco and his friends who beat Kaneko. With Paco's hatred for Hoban, he was going to take revenge because Hoban had damaged his noob. Hoban then immediately told Asamiya to leave, but Asamiya was detained by Paco. Hoban immediately imagined the tricks of the Samdak and Hoban immediately called Paco. Paco immediately swung his punch at Hoban, with Hoban's trick of placing his punch on Hoban's forehead, but it turned out that Paco's punch was replaced with a hard uppercut. Because Paco's blow made Hoban fly, he then remembered the Samdak, but Hoban hadn't watched any other videos. He only watched the Samdak trick that was used against robbers at that time, and it was useless in the fight against Paco. Currently, Asamiya is worried about Hoban because he keeps getting beat up by Paco, with regret that Hoban got carried away and stopped studying and doesn't fully intend to fight with Paco. From there, Hoban received payment for his stupidity and received a beating from Paco until he was broken, but Hoban was worried about Asamiya, so he could go home, but Paco didn't care about that. Paco continues to beat Hoban. On the other hand, we are shown the yellow jacket woman again. But suddenly Hoban prostrated himself with Paco and apologized for the mistake he had made, but still with regret Hoban prostrated himself with the person in front of the person Hoban loved. However, it wasn't that easy. Paco told Hoban to take off his pants and apologize again, because Paco was live streaming when he beat Hoban. However, after Asamiya slapped Paco and he wanted to beat Asamiya, Hoban suddenly took off his pants and shirt and then apologized again. However, not only that, Hoban will also take off his underwear, so that the Paco channel will be banned from YouTube. Then suddenly Munsong came and restrained Hoban so he wouldn't let go, and Munsong then beat the Paco group one by one until they fell down.
脱がなくても大丈夫。
扇はハマケンのライブ配信強かった。
大丈夫か、カホ。
After finishing beating up the Paco group, Munsong then asked Asamiya to leave and left Hoban alone. From that incident, Hoban continued to remember his past, with Hoban thinking that his life was over, and Kaneko approached Hoban and apologized to Hoban. After a few days later at school, it was seen that Paco in class had also dared to start his live streaming, with Paco admitting to his audience that if you want to hate him, you should not watch his live streaming, and Paco only likes people who support him. But it turns out that Kaneko suddenly becomes a Paco model with makeup like Hoban, but Kaneko is still worried about Hoban, who is not at school and hasn't been to school for several days. On the other hand, Asamiya contacted Hoban by telephone, but Hoban did not respond. But it turned out that Hoban was starting to study all the video techniques from Samdak, with the intention that miracles would not happen to people who did not want to try. Therefore, Hoban tried hard to practice while skipping school, and Hoban started to change himself to be cool. When Paco was live streaming in class with the aim of telling Hoban that Kaneko had been beaten by Paco and asked Hoban to meet Paco. However, it turned out that Hoban was already in front of the class and approached Paco. Then Hoban gave his cell phone to Kaneko to start live streaming and face Paco. The story ends here first. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.